From Southern Maryland's weather leader, this is a JB Weather Alert.
Hello and good evening. I'm Forecaster John Bordash with you to give you a evening update on the potential of storms across our region as we head throughout the afternoon or through the morning hours tomorrow morning. So we're going to go through a whole bunch of information. A lot of this information is available at the link that's all over this live stream. I won't be able to answer every in-depth question. My apologies. With that said, though, I will try my best to go over a nice overview of everything we have going on and the potentials we have across the region as we head throughout the next 12 to 18 hours. My apologies. I thought I had loaded my show in here. It looks like I didn't, so I'm currently doing that in multitasking. And I see Brianna saying I'm a little softer than usual. I'll fix my audio in just 1 second. So let me add. I want to add a file. My apologies. This should not take this long. I will be done here in just one moment. This is what I get for trying to be snarky and not doing my own homework. There we go. Okay, then that should be good. And let me raise this up just a little bit. Let me know if that works out any better for you all to hear me. I want to make sure that we're all good to go. In the meantime, though, yes, we have a very active weather week on tap, especially the next 12 to 18 hours. So the premise for all of this is that we have a heat dome setting up just to our south, really kind of across the southeast U.S., the southern plains. And this is going to allow for high heat, high humidity to build across the southern part of the country, and even in parts of our region. Today we got up into the lower 90s. It was quite humid outside as well, so that's going to be the effect of this. And I see everyone says that they can hear me loud and clear. That's awesome. So this heat dome, very impactful. With this heat dome, it's prompted by an area of high pressure. Flow around high pressure is clockwise, so the air is going from the Gulf of Mexico, through the Rockies, and up across the Great Lakes and down through our region. Follow those arrows. That kind of gives you an idea of how the flow is around this heat dome. Along the edges of this heat dome, we can get what are called storm complexes, mesoscale convective systems. Again, that's just a storm complex. It's a fancy word weather people use. They can develop along the outside edges of this, and because there's an eastward flow around them, around the heat dome, we can see these complexes develop out across the northern plains and work their way eastward across the Great Lakes and the Mid-Atlantic in the summer months. We see this happen a lot. Most of the time, this doesn't get a whole bunch of attention. It is for the next 12 to 18 hours, and we'll discuss why. But this is what we're watching. This is going to be your general setup here. With this, we're going to look at a storm complex that's already developing out across the Great Lakes. It's going to push from Wisconsin, now moving into Michigan, northern parts of Illinois, and that has prompted several upgrades to the severe weather risk throughout the day. Pretty uncommon, almost a rare, moderate, or a significant risk of severe weather has been issued for northwestern parts of Ohio, northeastern Iowa, southern Michigan. If you look in the corner part of your screen there, that red shading, that's where that is right now. And that's where this storm complex is the most likely to move through. Let me walk you through Futurecast a little bit, and it'll help break this down a little bit more. So let me bring you on over here. So this is Futurecast. Let me take it to our current hour. Not much going on. Storms are firing over parts of Lake Michigan. And what we will see happen here is as we head towards 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, we'll see these storms over Michigan really begin to take off and become quite strong quite rapidly. These are then going to mature and kind of congeal into a line, into a storm complex as it pushes south and east around that heat dome. And we can see at 3 o'clock pushing into Ohio, really starting to ramp up a little bit, starting to develop more of a line, a Boeing line type feature. And by 4, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, it's beginning to push into our, at least towards our mountains. This is kind of where the forecast breaks down a little bit. Lots of questions. A, how far north or south does this track? If it tracks further north, maybe we're talking a bullseye that's closer to Baltimore or Philadelphia. If it tracks further south, maybe we're talking a bullseye closer to Charlottesville, Virginia. Or does it track right through the DC metro area into our region? That's the first question. The second question is going to be, is this able to survive the trek over the mountains? The Appalachian Mountains have a tendency to act as a good shredder of storms that are moving from the west to the east. Is this able to survive that trek over them? And then if it does, do we even have storm energy around here tomorrow morning to allow for these storms to push on through as strong to severe thunderstorms? Or are we really just talking a heavy rain threat? Those are the three big questions. And this is pushing through tomorrow morning. Timing between 6 a.m. and probably about 2 p.m. Really, the severe weather window is really from 6 to about 10 a.m. But we don't normally get a lot of severe weather around here in the morning. And that's because, especially in our region, we need peak daytime heating to fuel thunderstorms. And that just isn't normally abundant enough in the morning hours. We have a lot of it out there right now, and we do have some storms firing out there right now that I'll touch on in just a second. That's trying to tap into some of that. If we have enough lingering and we're able to see at least a little bit of heating tomorrow morning, that could act as fuel. And let's play this again. So this is 6 o'clock, and as it moves across the mountains, not super strong, but strong enough to still be severe, pushing into parts of our region, pushing through our area again between 6 and 10 o'clock tomorrow morning before then moving down to the south and east. So the main risk with this will be damaging winds and the potential for heavy rain. Lots of comparisons today. And kind of, I don't even think founded comparisons have been made to the 2012 derecho. And this is going to be a derecho. And I think whether people throw that word around not thinking much about it, but the public perception of that is what we saw 10 years ago with 80 to 90 mile an hour winds, power outages, craziness. This isn't likely to be like that. And I don't think that point has been communicated well enough by a lot of other outlets. That's caused a lot of unnecessary hype with this. The storm system we saw move through 10 years ago, it moved through after, I want to say right after sunset, so we peak heating around. We were 104 degrees that afternoon, so lots of storm energy. We're going to be in the 70s tomorrow morning. It's going to be just after sunrise, so we have a couple of things that are going to be different with this, and the trajectory that this storm is going to be taking is going to be a little bit different. With that said, the highest severe weather risk right now is focused to our west across Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan. That is where this storm complex is the most likely to move through. In our region, it's a level 2 elevated risk. So something we're going to take note of and prepare for. It's not as high as it is back out to the west, and that's largely because we have a high degree of uncertainty with our forecast. With that said, if we'll start to get more information, we'll learn more about this setup as we move through tonight. We'll get an update to this right around 2 a.m. And with that 2 a.m. update, that's going to be really important. It's going to be very possible that maybe we see an upgrade to a level 3 enhanced risk, which would be, I think, like the second or third time in just the last couple of weeks. And those are pretty uncommon for our region, which just kind of speaks to the stormy pattern that we're in. But that's going to be something to stay aware of. Zooming into our region again, that elevated risk, it's really kind of highlighted from DC point south, so really our entire coverage area. And that main risk tomorrow is going to be, again, damaging winds. I think that's going to be what we're really focusing on. The potential is there for 55 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts. As this line pushes through, that initial push of moisture is going to have those gustiest winds. We could even see some hail tomorrow. 1 to 2 inch size hail can't be ruled out with this line. That won't be the main threat. There is a tornado threat tomorrow. It's rather low end though. These types of, and I can show you again just on the Futurecast because it helps to illustrate my point a little bit. Do you see here how it's a little like we're talking about a Boeing line? Let me draw this on here. We have a line that's kind of, and I know the model doesn't do the best job at depicting this, but this would be a line right through here. When you get a line of storms, whether it's Boeing like this or it's straight up and down, that tends to eliminate the threat of high-end tornadoes because tornadoes tend to like to be in environments where they're by themselves. They're not sharing storm energy. And lines like this, they're not able to keep that energy to themselves. We're sharing the energy along the entire line. And yeah, we could see maybe a brief, weak spin-up tornado, but I really don't think that's going to be the main threat as we head throughout the day tomorrow. And flash flooding is going to be a risk. Actually, Weather Prediction Center has highlighted our region under an elevated threat of flash flooding tomorrow. And this is a little bit different than that severe weather outlook where this flash flooding outlook, and this says severe weather, this should say flash flooding. There's bound to be typos somewhere. This flash flooding outlook only has 4 categories versus the 2 that a severe weather outlook has. So that means that we're going to be talking about that threat of flash flooding really becoming an issue across the region, or potentially becoming an issue across the region as we head through the morning hours, especially since we're going to have a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, which means that there's going to be a lot of moisture for our potential storms to tap into. But again, it is very possible that we see this line potentially not make it to our region, track to our north or track to our south. I don't want everyone to be honing in on, oh, we're going to see these crazy storms across our region tomorrow. And that was the wrong graphic. 1 second as I try to do one thing at a time. I thought I could do 2. I think this highlights kind of where my brain is, that I've been busy all day and I'm kind of scattered brain. With that said, there is that threat of flash flooding across the region tomorrow. There we go. As we work through the forecast. And I see lots of questions about what time is it going to start. Take a look at that pinned comment. That'll answer that question for you. Pushing you forward here. These are going to be your big headlines with this event. AM storms are going to be possible between 6 a.m. and 2 p.m. tomorrow. That's really the time frame we're looking at. It's very possible that this line doesn't materialize in the way that maybe some might think it will. We might be looking at mainly just a heavy rain threat, just a gusty wind threat, maybe miss out on this activity altogether. We'll see. But if this does indeed push through, the main risk would be from high winds. And that could lead to some high impacts across the region. Damaging wind, so that's another typo. I almost find this comical at this point. I almost wonder how many additional typos there are across this whole thing. But damaging winds are going to be possible, along with that potential for flooding and some ponding on area roadways as we work through tomorrow morning. With all of this said, we do already have storms out there that are separate from this across the region. And what I want to do while I'm thinking about this is I would like to update the post that this is attached, that these graphics are attached to prevent a whole bunch of comments about those typos. So let me do that. And then we'll get to the current radar and we'll discuss all of this fun stuff. Oh. Update that, and let me update this. All right, now that that is updating, let me get you on over to current radar. Show you what's going on out there right now, because we already have some severe storms out there that, again, are not attached to this current threat, that are just because we're hot and humid, we have a threat of storms out there right now. Let me get you on over. Take you on over here. Let's zoom you on in. So right now we do have just a couple of storms firing just to our north and west across the DC metro area. Severe thunderstorm warning is up for Montgomery County, Fairfax County, the northern parts of the DC metro area. These storms, if I show you the hour loop here and let that kind of load through, you can see the general trajectory of these storms. There's not a lot of them, but they are out there. Those are pushing south and east. A couple of severe thunderstorm warnings out there. And now we're beginning to see them start to move into our northern areas in Anne Arundel and PG County. And these will continue south and east. Our modeling suggests that these might try to hold together and move through our region between about 8 and 11 o'clock. And bring some showers, maybe locally heavy rain, a gusty wind threat as well. Nothing too crazy, but something to watch. So we're going to continue to monitor these as they push south and east. But on the national radar, what we can see, let me get you the national radar. We have several things going on back out to the west. And actually, it looks like Chicago is under a tornado warning. Yeah, it looks like the heart of Chicago is under a tornado warning. This little red polygon here, that's interesting. So any interest in Chicago, take cover. There's an active tornado warning. But this little guy right here and then this storm over here, these are the beginning parts of our convective system. These are going to form into a line here and push south and east. We also, and I'm going to turn the lightning off because it just clouds everything. So we have these two. These are our main concern. We have an additional little complex down here pushing through Ohio. This should not impact our region. However, it'll be interesting to see how this impacts the development of that other line. But we'll watch this as well. So we have a lot going on really across the region. We're going to be watching for this potential mesoscale system. We have thunderstorms across our region right now, so heads up over the next couple of hours as those push through. We have an additional little guy just south of Columbus that'll push south and east through Charleston down towards Roanoke eventually. So again, not a concern for us. Then we have storms pushing through the Chicago area and getting into Michigan. And that'll be what we're tracking for tomorrow. I do see that, Lauren, you want to know an hour-by-hour timeline? I do have one up on the website. Let me see if I can't just load it into this system quickly, though. The name of the game with this so far has been that almost none of my graphics have been loaded in the way that I mean them to be loaded. So we are going to see if I'm able to get this together. So let's turn all of these off. Lightning off. Don't want that. Let me get my model loaded up here. All right. So you can see here that Futurecast, and this kind of allows us to go back over the forecast. You see that complex back out towards Columbus. Let's take it to 7. And then our storms out towards the west. That complex in Ohio dies off eventually, but then this would be our main system that we're watching. So that's 4 o'clock. Tomorrow morning, pushing towards the mountains by about 6 o'clock. So getting on the bus, going to school, going to work, probably fine tomorrow morning. But then as we push towards 8, well, I guess if you're catching a 6 or 7 o'clock bus, you're probably fine. But by about 8, 9 o'clock is when this line begins to start to move through our region. And we see that push through 8, 9, 10 o'clock. So this is going to be your highest severe weather risk across our region. And we'll see. I mean, damaging winds definitely possible. I don't think this is going to be like our 2012 derecho that we're coming on the 10-year anniversary of. And we always kind of have to preface that with these forecasts over the last 10 years. JB Weather turns 9 this year, so I know in almost every update I've done since JB Weather became a thing, I've had to mention that. But this is not a derecho. Derechos are something you classify after the fact. You can't really forecast a derecho. And even so, like the June 2012 derecho, it's almost kind of like Hurricane Katrina in the sense that Hurricane Katrina is not emblematic of what every hurricane is like or every tropical system. The June 2012 derecho is not emblematic of what every derecho is like. And I don't think that's what we'll have to deal with tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. And then this, again, pushes through 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. The heaviest stuff is well to our south and east. We probably will still have some rain showers around, though, through tomorrow, probably around lunchtime into the early afternoon hours. Total preset put down from our model here. Let's see if we can't just get this out here. And this is a little spotty. What I want, don't look at the exact placement. Just note that our model here does have 1, 2, and 3 inch rainfall amounts with this line. So you could pick up a quick 1 or 2 inches of rain tomorrow. And that would be why we have on the correct graphic a flash flooding risk for tomorrow that's elevated. So we will track all of this. I will continue to keep you updated. I'm probably going to eat some dinner in a little bit and get out of the weather center. I've been here all day, but I'll be with you early tomorrow morning. I'll be up around 2, 3 a.m. to start updating this forecast. Be with you through I guess late tonight and then through the morning hours tomorrow to keep you updated on this. I think this is either a boom or a bust forecast. I very, very easily see how this is not as severe as anyone thinks. There's also the potential though that this could be, impactful. So we'll watch everything. So stay weather aware, stay tuned. I have updates, Facebook, Twitter, links have been scrolling there on the sidebar on Instagram. And then you can always catch my forecasts on my home base, jbweather.net. You can always access my information there. I know Facebook has a tendency when I do article updates on that I'm sharing a link to versus I'm sharing a photo to, tend not to do as well, the links, because I'm taking traffic away from Facebook. So they kind of shadow ban it in that type of a way. But you can always just head there yourself. I don't have an algorithm on there, so you're gonna be able to see everything as I post it. So stay weather aware, stay tuned. I'll continue to keep you updated. And yeah, we'll watch and see how everything goes. In the meantime, though, I'm Forecaster John Bordash. Thank you for joining me this evening, and I'm sure we'll be talking again tomorrow morning as we track the potential for some severe weather across our region. Stay safe.
Check the forecast anytime online at jbweather.net.